like in art museums, in art museums or regular ads that you might see on like pop-ups or billboards. If you go to Times Square, if you're from New York City, you will see a bunch of advertisements from different companies like McDonald's, the Line store with all the bears, maybe fashion brands from designers like Gucci or like, I don't know, Zara, H&M, something like that. Let me read out some right now. Imagery, that's really good. Advertisements, absolutely. Creating different things with different sites, use like Canva, advertisements as well. Right, so I guess we can all agree, you will think of advertisements. So some of you might be thinking that designing or like the job of designing, being a graphic designer, being a design manager is just going to make things look pretty, but that's a myth. But that's going to be a conversation for another day. If you're planning to actually like pursue a degree in it in college or maybe for a job, how I can say that designing your graphics for your brand or like for personal use should absolutely have your audience in mind, which is what I'm going to kind of teach you before we get into the different functions of Canva. As a current high schooler with such a big interest in graphic design, Canva was a great place for me to start, and I still use it today. So that also kind of made me back out from trying out Figma. So I'm sorry to those who probably expected a bit of Figma lesson. Maybe that'll be another lesson.
Oh, Joanne, I think you're on. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My
No,
AirPods just died. So okay, that's great. Anyways, on Canva, there's going to be multiple elements. There's going to be a lot of free templates. So if you're an absolute beginner, I highly recommend using Canva, which is again what I'm going to teach today. There's, you know what? Let's move on now. Right, so what can you get out of this webinar? You're going to know the basic functions of Canva, which I'm going to teach you on probably after we learn about how to get like that little bit of a mindset, which is actually what I'm going to also talk about below that bullet point, which is how to space out your elements with psychology. If you've taken like AP Psych or like maybe any sort of regular psychology lesson, you will probably understand something called the Gestalt theory, which is on the bottom, which is the basis of how our brain interprets images and how to appeal to the audience and how to choose your theme colors. Going to read the chat a little bit. Yeah, so who has taken psychology before? Or maybe, I don't know, heard of it. Currently taking psych. Yes. Limited access. Yeah, you're going to have limited access because Canva, just as any platform, wants you to buy things from them. But I can promise you that even without premium or like, I don't know, Adobe Illustrator, which you have to pay like $60 a year for, which is a little bit crazy, I can promise you can still make good designs. And someone has dropped psych. All right, so let's go. Bio lessons. Okay, yeah, I was taking psychology last year and I was doing biology for like the first half of the year, and I was just like, why am I here? I came here to learn about minds, not how the brain has all these genes or whatever. But you're going to learn about the Gestalt theory in psychology, which is essentially how the human brain perceives and simplifies images through figuring out patterns and grouping different elements, which you will definitely see in a lot of advertisements, but probably you won't even realize it until after this little mini lesson. There's going to be about 6 to 7 elements. One of them is not listed, which is called similarity. There's closure, there's proximity, symmetry, continuity, figure ground, and common fate. Common fate is kind of not going to be taught regularly, but if you're trying to pursue design, it might be good to know since people say it's been recently added. But if you're taking an AP Psych, I don't know that's going to be part of it. So let's start with similarity. Similarity, let's look on the top left corner. You're going to see, despite a bunch of the same size circles, there's going to be black circles and purple circles. And if you think about it, your mind automatically perceives them or like separates them into two different groups. There's going to be black, and there's going to be purple, but I'm going to predict that your brain is thinking that purple is going to stand out the most. And now you can see this on the next where the arrow is pointing to. I made this little example about this random organization. Probably the first thing that you think of, or the first thing you see in this image is the join us now button, because that purple is kind of striking and you perceive the rest of the background as like some other different group. I don't know if that makes sense. Exactly, as Lena said, that's what you're going to see, and that's what companies do. Usually they use similarity, which is one of the gestalt theories, as I just said, to kind of drag you into seeing this one thing first and kind of like attracting your entire attention to that to the point you don't even realize that the link below gives you a year's worth of chips. So right, so if you have a brand and you want your audience to do something, try to use similarity. Maybe put the entire background as something very similar, with like, I don't know how to really say it, but I guess it should make sense to you. What I'm trying to say is that use striking colors, and whatever you want your audience to pay attention to, again, use that one color, and then use some type of contrasting color. I'm going to talk about colors a little bit more later throughout the lesson. And then on the next image, you can kind of see something that I grabbed from Google, that mostly designers or like mostly brands don't really use multiple colors. They kind of just use like essentially the same color. And you can see that the primary button is going to be the button that they want you to click on the most, because that entire thing, like that entire button is filled with purple, while on the rest of the buttons, which is the link and the secondary button, that's another different group. But even though they're like the same size as the primary button. Now for closure, so if you look at the logos on the bottom right corner, you're going to see the WWF. I think that's the Worldwide Funds, I think. Closure is basically how your brain, when you see images that aren't really enclosed, you can still see what the image is trying to be. So as I said, the WWF, you can clearly see that's a panda, even though there's no lines that are enclosing the panda, like the top head, like the head part, like the rest of the body. You still see a panda. Same thing for the USA Network. You're going to see that they're not actually putting a different color for the S. You're kind of rather just cutting out and letting your brain kind of take in the negative space to kind of see the S in USA. Same thing for Adobe. You can literally see that it's trying to say the A in Adobe. So that's how you can use closure from the gestalt theory to incorporate into your design. Moving on, we have figure and ground. So similar to closure, but your brain kind of perceives images based on something called a focal point, which is the main focus, versus the background, which is the rest of the image, and how they're going to be both different images. So let's see, FedEx. Everyone probably knows this, or heard this from Twitter. You're going to see FedEx, but some people might see the arrow that's really in between the E and the X to kind of symbolize that they're a delivery company. Let me read the chat a little something. Using so many colors, making the design not professional, it's not aesthetic, right? That's why we're going to review how to pick out your theme colors. Now for continuity, your brain makes you look at things in an orderly line. So it's very important to organize elements based on what you want the audience to see as they go. So even though there's different colors, your brain is still going to see that this little squiggly line, even though they're kind of both not really the same color, this half and this half, you're still going to see that squiggly line because it's kind of overlapping. Your brain is perceiving as overlapping this straight line. Same thing for this, is overlapping because there's a line over it, such. Now for proximity. So which looks more appealing? I gave an example for chemistry. So you can see A, B, C. Let's say these are test questions from very misprinted, badly printed tests. what's the atomic number for hydrogen? What's the symbol for fluoride? How many elements? So this A is supposed to be for this question, what is the atomic number? While B is supposed to be for system for fluoride, C for how many elements. So in your opinion, what looks a little more appealing or organized to you? I would like to invite you guys to answer this question in chat or out loud. Okay, no, I mean this image or this image. I think I kind of, okay, second one, right? So second one might be a little more organized to you. So that's how probably you should organize your elements. Because people might be confusing that A is going to be some sort of question on the above, wherever the question is going to be, while B might be misinterpreted as this question. I saw an example earlier. It was from some like delivery company application, and they kind of like like organized the thing, and now people are confusing like two questions from each other because they misorganized using proximity. So now let's move on to the sixth thing. Symmetry and order, very self-explanatory. What looks more appealing to you or more organized to you? First one or the second one? Right, so the second one, maybe people might see that it's more organized or more symmetric. Yeah, very organized. So let's move on now. First one, maybe some people might think that the first one is a little more appealing, but that really depends on you. But I'm trying to say that that is what symmetry essentially is. Now for common fate, again, that's a concept that many people probably might not be introduced to in the earlier stages of learning the Gestalt theory, but now it's been recently added. So our brain organizes elements based on where they're pointing to or moving to. So you can see how the birds for this image right here, this image right here, and these fishes over here are moving to up, little up, yeah. Same thing for these airplanes, and this is because of your brain. Thanks, brain. Proximity and common fate is making you interpret or group things based on where they're moving to again. And now let's move on. So the moral of the story is that the Gestalt theory is a great way to start figuring out how to lay out your design in a way that appeals to your audience the most. So now that you understand how your brain sees images, apply it so that everyone knows what you're trying to say. So this also takes a lot of time and practice. So please don't be discouraged if you don't really understand all the theories or you don't really do well on like designing your first like graphic. Anyways, on the side, you see the CeraVe that's not a moisturizer. I don't know, facial cleaner. So what elements do you kind of think, what do you think are being applied to the CeraVe products? Okay, so you might see there is going to be maybe proximity, the use of it, as well as similarity, because they're sticking to about 3 to 4 colors. It's going to be gray here. So you can focus your attention on that this product is focused for those who want to control the oils in their faces, or using the green right here, foamy facial cleanser, so people can see this kind of first when they want to know what kind of moisturizer or cleaner that they want for their face. And maybe there's going to be a lot of white space to separate the different elements that they or the marketers want you to see. Okay, so someone asks, what is the Gestalt theory? Back to the here. So Gestalt theory, again, if you forgot, is how your brain perceives and simplifies images through figuring out patterns and grouping elements. So as I taught you, your brain kind of interprets these, a lot of like different elements. It kind of like automatically allows you to like group things based on how close they are or what color they are, what's more striking to you, if that makes sense. Anyways, let's move on now. How to space out your elements. So there's going to be a lot of Gestalt theory, like proximity, similarity, symmetry, figure and ground. Again, this especially applies to this topic about spacing out your own elements, so you know what you want your audience to focus on. So when creating your graphics, be mindful of what you want highlighted in a post, and now highlight that focal point or the focus by applying the space, which is applied to the idea of proximity, or a different but striking color, which is similarity. So if you use a lot of white and you want to use a different color like pink, maybe go for pink if you want something to be more striking while the background is entirely white, because your brain or your audience's brain is now going to see that pink like font or that pink type that you want them to see. And now there's something called white spacing. So white spacing is essentially empty space between different elements to separate groups. And this is going to be especially important when you want to create some sort of online graphic. And now if you want to put it to perspective and make you like understand a bit more, think of it as like when you're writing sentences, there's going to be commas to act as like mini pauses. Or you can go to the next line in some sort of essay for another sort of pause to let the reader know that you're moving on to the next topic. If that makes sense, that's great. So I encourage you to also practice incorporating white space into your future designs. I also encourage you to explore a lot over different design platforms. And yeah, so remember that white space is not entirely bad. Actually, what's more bad is kind of filling up the entire page with like a lot of words or a lot of like elements, a lot of graphics. Don't make it look too busy, or else even the audience is going to get a bit overwhelmed. Now you can kind of see this being put into perspective. I kind of put an example. On the first one, you might see that it looks a little bit like a little less spaced out, especially like, let's say this area, economics, as well as this like little money pile graphic is way too close. Maybe it might not look appealing to someone. I'm not sure. Join the community. This entire button is very much on the side, not really symmetrical. As said in the chat, it's definitely looking very cluttered and very messy. It's too much for someone who might look at this. They might feel very overwhelmed. While on the side, there's a lot of white space, especially on the margins, like on the top to the bottom, instead of this, where this is literally right at the top. Same thing, they don't use that much graphics like the money and the bank. And I think that's very self-explanatory. You can group these things. You know that this entire thing is its own title. Join the Global Youth Economics Forum. And then there's white space here. Separate this to what it is, an organization to meet your needs to learning the world of business, finance, and economics. And now another white space, join a community. So now you know that these are 3 different things. So now choosing your colors. So applying this to Gestalt theory, similarity, don't use multiple colors as seen in this thing, which might be very familiar to you. Stick to at least 2, maybe like this first one with a little check mark by someone. Now there's something called a color theory. I believe I don't really need to get in depth with it since it's kind of been learned in elementary school. But I put it on side if you need it. There's going to be a lot of color psychology, seeing what colors represent your brand the most. So let's say you want something more powerful. I don't know, something the GYEF kind of already has. We have like a little bit of a blue theme. So we want a little bit of darker blue, success, trust, power. You want that. If you want those emotions to be evoked in your audience, go for these colors. If you want something contrasting, go across, as your teachers might say, which is why you see a lot of like blue and orange together, or like green and pink together, maybe red or green for something Christmassy. If you want luck, many people associate luck with green. So if you want that, if you want your audience to feel a bit of like luck, health, or nature, go for green in your brand. Yellow, everyone knows it's associated with happiness or like joy. Go for yellow. Just like McDonald's, you see McDonald's, they have kind of contrasting colors. The M for yellow, which is very bright, while the red is more powerful. You don't really get a professional vibe from the red and the yellow. I almost said orange. You get more of like this happy or more like energetic kind of vibe from it. So if that makes sense, that's great. Does anyone have any questions from this point? If not, that's
I
fine.
have a question.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but I am not sure whether this is relevant to the topic or not. But I was wondering, for people like those who have a color blindness, how will they understand that this is the design, and like how they can understand different kind of designs and the graphics? For them, everything is completely similar. They can only see the single color. So I'm not sure how will they
Uh,
continue their career in the designing part.
Right. So I've never really taken a lesson when it comes to working with people who are colorblind, because I think it kind of applies differently. Like some people might see like green or red is the same, while some other like person might interpret green or yellow. But I think many people try to use more darker versus lighter colors. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm probably the wrong person to talk to for that question, but that's what I think from the top of my head. So working with text. So again, you're going to see proximity and white space. You're grouping text based on subject rather than a big paragraph, like in an essay. If you're reading the essay on Instagram, many people are not going to read that. Most likely people are going to read something that is very short, very simplified, because no one has the time to really interpret what you're saying. So don't bunch text all together and fill up the page through that. I encourage you to use white space. Again, it's not bad. So also avoid something called orphans and widows. On the side is a pretty good picture, a pretty good representation with orphans. Oh yeah, it's fine. You're welcome. All right, so widows. Widows at the end is like leaving two or one word by itself on the next slide or on the next half of the page. I think that's very self-explanatory. The reason why people say to avoid orphans or widows is because when you read a text like that, people will skip like wherever the widow or the orphan is, or think it's kind of unnecessary, or like not worth to leave such a big space in. Like you see, there's a lot of space like in this area, which might be a little unsatisfying to someone. Again, similar to color picking for text, choose fonts based on the mood that you want to evoke. For like example, lazy dog, this one, a lot of people use it when they want to put out this like very playful, very calming sort of like vibe from it. While GYEF uses League Spartan, which is typically aligned to organizations that want to be a little more professional. And now this is going to be Amsterdam 1 for anyone who wants this like very like fancy, like cursive type of vibe. So it's really important to also wisely pick what kind of font that you want for your graphic. And now, all right, so I'm going to answer some Google form questions before I get on to the learning about the different functions of Canva, as I kind of promised in the first intro. So the first question that I saw, also I kind of skipped some questions because someone else already asked them, which is kind of in here. So first one, what are the free softwares that you can use to make some sort of professional design? The ones that I know as of now are Canva, Figma, and surprisingly, Adobe Express, which is I think the only free Adobe related platform. I haven't tried Adobe, I'm trying out Figma as of now. So if you want to try out that, go right ahead. Right now, I'm just going to teach you about Canva, which is something I've been using for a while. For beginners, how can beginners get skilled in Canva? I'm going to teach you the different functions, but you should also take some time to explore on your own. And once you believe that you have some sort of good grasp of everything, put it to the test. Canva actually provides a lot of like online video lessons for free. And they also give these like challenges, which you have to make a copy of. Okay, yeah, which you have to make a copy of and play around with it. You're not going to get graded on it, so
At
Mhm.
her new member orientation.
Oh fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, I get excused from that because I went on this thing, which is not.
okay. So what are the free courses or websites that you would recommend when learning design styles or colors? There's something I'm going to teach you later in this Canva lesson, that Canva actually updated their system so they can actually generate styles and colors for you. They don't have a long list of as of now, but you can play around with that. There's also something that I used like way before. It says the remaining time is 4 minutes. Oh no. Lena?
Yeah, I'm updating it right now. Give me a second.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So color palette generator. So that was something I've used before. And actually when I was starting out designing for GYEF, when it was a startup, I actually kind of used the color palette generator to figure out what kind of theme I want for GYEF. So that's a really good thing. I mean, not really good thing, a really good website for you to use. There are some other ones, but that's something for you to explore on your own. Also, I recommend you should make your own mood boards. What a mood board is basically a collage of what you want the vibe to get from the design that you're going to be making. You can use Pinterest for like images for free, or you can go on Instagram and look at different accounts or like design accounts. Also take inspo from Instagram, because a lot of online like actual professional designers, unlike me sadly, actually post a lot of advice on how to kind of enhance your design a bit more. And now lastly, how to make top class designs with a free subscription. So personally, I don't think that being a good designer depends on how much money you have. I don't know what other designers think, but it's more about what you can make out of the resources that you currently have. So if you know your audience pretty well, you could totally make use of the free subscription on various platforms. So I recommend that right now you start testing out your own like skills. They could be bad in your opinion, or something like that. Not everyone, not even me, I started out really badly. I'm not going to lie. But through some practice and adding a little bit of passion there, another slight thing, the more you're passionate about something, the more effort you're going to put. So if you keep on practicing, then you would definitely improve. So I highly recommend that you probably start now. And if you want to get better, again, start now. And in the future, look back on how much you've grown and just be proud of yourself. And now time to look at some examples. So I grabbed something from the GYEF website. So let's say we're making some sort of advertising GYEF on Instagram. Well, welcome to GYEF. Why should you join? Blah, blah, blah. Let me read some of the comments. Practice makes perfect. That's right, Lena. I tried, but I'm still not good at designing it yet. Yes, it takes a lot of time. A lot of people are different. Some people might start out like very fast. Like maybe they might get everything in like the span of 1 week, and suddenly they're so good like the next week from when it started. Some people, it might take 2 years. For me, it literally took 2 years to at least understand everything. But again, practice makes perfect. Don't give up. I don't recommend giving up. It takes perseverance to get to the results that you want. So don't ever get discouraged. So let's get back to this. So let's say, let me start top to bottom. There's going to be templates. Wow, So many templates. Some are pro. If you're broke for pro, that's okay. I am too. But that doesn't mean that you should just give up, because if you can make use of the free resources that you have now, you're probably really good already. So let's say maybe for this one, I don't know. Should we use a template? There's a lot of templates actually. You can use this. Change up the colors. Colors are right here. Background color. Actually, hold up. Let's say I want this color. I don't know, red. Here's something called an eyedrop tool. You go here, you add a new color, you can play around with this. But here's an eyedrop tool. An eyedrop tool is basically taking the color, like if you're taking chemistry or some sort of science lesson, you know what it is. You're kind of taking a substance from something that's already there. I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to make it a visual representation for you. So let's move up here. Click on eyedrop. There's a big circle right here. Let's say I want red for this. Boom, red. Wow, red. Yes, the meaning of that numbers. So there are numbers which are, I think they're called HTML, something like that. Not many colors. I think colors do have names, but no one's going to type out the names. There's going to be a lot of numbers to represent this type of color that you want. Like this is an F. This is 0 for completely black. For me, choosing the color is way more difficult. I agree, because I always have a hard time choosing the type of colors that I want, but there's going to be a lot of online generators. Maybe you can use those. As I said, I already gave this color palette generator, which might be pretty handy for you if you want to start out like that. Learn a little bit from it. Can we choose the light colors to reflect? What do you mean by reflecting? Usually people use light colors if they want more of a lighter mood. Oh, the story of a mission of our organization. Yeah, you can do that. Right now, GYEF actually uses blue. But let's pretend GYEF does not exist and we're starting out. Start out. The story and mission of our organization. Maybe we can use a light color. Let's go with the light color. Thank you. Let's do blue. Suddenly, we want GYEF to be blue. Let's say this. This is the color code. Yeah, color code. That's what it's called. Color codes are actually really useful if you want a specific color, because not everyone's going to remember names like, I don't know, raspberry. Not all white colors are just going to be called white. There's going to be pearl white. There's going to be industrial white, if that exists. So that's why these numbers and letters and the type of code kind of matters. Let's say this. Okay, cool. I don't know. This is how you can basically use a template. Play around with the fonts right here. There's so many fonts you can use. You can also find these fonts on Adobe that you have to pay for, surprisingly. Adobe Photoshop. You can actually, most of these are, you can just get them. And this is for free too. That's why Canva might be pretty good. Let's say this one, I don't know. Does this look nice? Yeah, maybe. Anyways, that's a little bit of an intro to templates. Let's say here, I don't want red. Let's go with this blue. Now, right now, this might look really cluttered because this does not have any margins. It's too close to the edges. This corner is too close. You don't even know what you're trying to look at. You don't know what organization until you have to look at this top left corner. Very misorganized, I think. Maybe I might look organized to someone. you want this. Because we're introducing the audience, we want this to kind of stand out the most. What most people do, or what I would usually do, I'll put this at the bottom first, is kind of censor using symmetry. And now what's cool about Canva is that they also have these little lines. You see these purple lines? It kind of helps you like figure out the spacing and the symmetry of it. So let's kind of make it easier for us. Boom. This solid lines means that is exactly in the middle. So maybe this is exactly in the middle from vertically, and now horizontally move down. Now you're smack in the middle of the entire post. But because we have all of this, we kind of don't want this to be exactly in the middle. We kind of want this to be a little bit on top, so people know that this is the main topic, because people also read from top to bottom as well as left to right. But yeah, so here's this thing called spacing. And what I just tell you about spacing is that you should group things based on proximity, which is from the Gestalt theory. What I like to use the most is line spacing. Line spacing, you can see it right here, actually. It gets close to the line. Spread out. Let's put closer, because you want this, you want the people to see that this entire thing is its own thing. So let's do that. Closer. Welcome to the Global Youth Economics Forum. Now, you didn't know that feature existed. Now it exists. It's been existing, actually. That's why I highly encourage people to really explore the depths of like Canva functions and not just start out immediately, because you don't know that maybe right at the start of your first post that you can make it better after you've practiced using it. Now there's also something called letter spacing, of course, Lena. So letter spacing is this. You can see how between two letters, they can either be very spread out to look like this, or kind of close like this. So this is closer, this is farther. Let's say we want this, I don't know, 45. Let's make it a little bit spaced out. Looks a little better. Let's make it a little bigger. Right, so now this next is going to be effects. All right, there's shapes. You can turn it into a curve. Wow, circles. How do I put this down? Hold up. Okay, sorry. Curving. You can make this into an entire circle, or you can put a little space out. Whoa. So if you want to put something like a circle in here, yeah, I don't know, something like this. You might want to play around with it a little bit more. There was a post on GYEF made by, I think, someone from the design team. Well, definitely someone from the design team. We're making the graphics for it. That they've kind of made the earth, and then they kind of put the words literally like curving around the earth. So it looks a little cute like this. I promise you guys that my Canva is literally the same thing. If not, it's probably old. That's why you had to explore the entire functions. And it's really good to practice. Maybe, again, look back on how you started and look like how much you improved. So you want this on the top, I would go positive numbers, 24. Or if you want to go under, let's move this away. Negative 24. Whoa, whoa, you can put it under. Wow. So you can really play around with these features. Let's remove this. But because I personally do not want a curve, let's do this for now. Let's move this to the bottom. Right here. right here. Let's put this smack in the middle. So the symmetry, people like symmetry, I promise you. Just like in this one, very cluttered, not really symmetric, because this entire button is on the side. Symmetry, cool. Now, oh, oops, okay. So effects. There's also styles. So there's going to be shadows. Okay, I don't think you guys can really see it. So let's do a random. I don't like that one either. Let's do the regular GYEF one. League Spartan. Let me put it really close. So you can kind of see that there's shadows right behind this one. People use this to kind of enhance that title, or many people actually use it just for the title. Because why? They want the audience to see the title or like the entire subject first. You can play with the offset. Let me enlarge this again so you can see it. Direction. Look how it moves. If you want people to look from the left, I think, or the right, play with the direction or where you want the shadows to move at. Look how they move in a circle. That's funny. Okay, let's do this. This one. I think this one's good. Offset is how close you want the shadow to be to the actual text. So you want it more far away, like very more like floating in a way, floating like effects. Go for like a higher number of offset, or we want very close, go for a smaller number. Let's go with this one. I don't know. Now blur. Blur is kind of similar to lift, which is basically like putting actual shadows rather than like a textual, like a text shadow. So it looks like that. The more blurred, the more shadowy kind of effect. But because we don't want to blur for now, let's stick with no blur. Transparency is how transparent you want the shadow to be. So look at here is a shadow. Transparency. Whoa. Yeah. Next one, lift. Intensity. Again, very similar to the shadow with the blur. I see no difference. A lot of people I've heard from Instagram on this one post that said don't use very intense like shadows because it kind of looks a little less natural. So if anything, people highly recommend using a shadow of, rather than black, but a darker color of the actual text itself. But the text is black for now, so there's that. And I don't think Canva really has the function of using a darker color, but it's just fine. We can work with it. Now for hollow, it's just making a hollow outlining. Same thing for splice, except it kind of puts a background. Very similar to shadow, because you kind of like move that part or make it very thick. Let's say we want a darker version of this. You can probably go back to the background color and actually darken it like this. Wow, so fun. So let's say that's echo. Echo is a lot of shadows. Can we use a dark color for our main headline? Yeah, of course. With a lighter color of fonts. Okay, yeah, that looks good. There's also glitch. I personally don't use it, but if you want to, it kind of reminds me of the TikTok logo because they do use glitch. There's also neon. If you want that little like bright effect. Same thing for, there's also a background. You can play around with how big the background is. But that's up to your own discretion. So let's do splice. A lighter version. Let's say this and then this. Cute. Let's do this for now. If you're going to make a video or like a story, GYEF usually makes your stories have like this sort of animation, like Google presentations, Google Slides, Microsoft Slides. You can start the presentation like this. Okay. Boom. I personally don't really use animations for posts, but for stories, yes. You can play around with this. There's a speed function, but yeah. But let's not use this for now. Yeah, so like an Instagram story. Now let's play around with the rest of the text. There's this. Ooh. Now there's also something to align text. You can align it to the left, align it to the right, or in the middle, or space it out like, how do I make this make sense? Like this. So it kind of fills up the entire box. Many people like to use these boxes. Oh, look, it's an orphan. Finance. No, you can't have that. By the way, I'm wondering how much time it took you to make this lovely post. Minimum time, well, it takes a minimum hour of 1 hour to make a decent post. For me, it depends on what the subject is. If I'm doing GYF, like going to post, usually it kind of takes me like 2 hours plus procrastination. I am guilty of procrastinating, and I'm sure everyone here is as well. But even without procrastination, it does take a lot of time. I make a lot of drafts. Like I start with one thing and sometimes I'm not satisfied with it, but it really helps me like get the hang of what I want for the vibes of the final product to be. So if I'm not satisfied with this entire thing, I can always make a copy and play around with it a little bit more and then compare like the results to the first one and see which one is better. Yeah, that's something I do. How do I balance my time between GYF and school? I usually leave GYF for the weekends and school for like weekdays. I think that's really what I do. I don't really do much like effective like scheduling. Yeah, big procrastinator. If I'm not able to make the design, I always give up. Do not give up. Guys, please don't give up. Giving up is like, it's going to like change your mindset, and then now you're going to be like, no, I'm not good at this. I'm blah blah blah. That's not a good mindset to have. But if you can't get the grasp of that idea now, there's always a future. So now let's keep playing around with this. Let's say I don't want this on the side because why? It does not look symmetrical to me. Like, not very appealing to the audience based on gestalt. Let's put this in the middle. A little more symmetric. Nothing we can't do. But I'm not a fan of the text. So let's play around with the text. And now I don't use effects for the text because usually the effects are used for like the big things, the big titles that you want your audience to look at. Unfortunately, I have to go now. That's okay. Thank you for coming. If you guys need to go now, that's fine. I'm going to keep on teaching and then I'm just going to end it off right there. I think I'm more confident and motivated. Thank you. So usually GYF uses glacial indifference for our like other text is subtext. But because it does, let's say this doesn't exist. Let's put this on the bottom. No idea. You look at this. I think this could be enhanced a little bit better. So let's go back to our spacing and play with the lines because we want to group them differently. We don't want people to misinterpret that this and this are one thing. In fact, if you're looking at only this in a post, it's not very satisfying to someone. Like just looking at this. And that's why white space is again very important. So you're leaving a little bit of white space right here so people can actually easily separate it. And now same thing goes for the colors. This color, very different from this one. Let's use glacial indifference. Leave it in the middle. Let's make it a little bit bigger, a little bit shorter or smaller than the actual title, because again, we want people to notice this thing first. Your connection to world business, economics, finance, and higher education. Now let's play around with these. I want to enhance the numbers because these numbers are big, like almost 1 million students, 900 active members, and 100 schools. That's Arlena. So if you don't want to put like two things together, because for effects, the thing is that you can't really make one part of a text box part effect. It's just going to make the entire thing an effect. And that's not what we want. So what I'm going to do is probably copy. Let's remove this and just paste as another text. And they're going to be the same size as what it originally is. So now only this can be an effect and not this. But because I want to enhance this, I'm going to make this a thicker type of font. Let's do this. I don't know. Let's play around. Let's do this for now. It doesn't really look satisfying, but our purpose here is to teach you. I'm not posting it either. So you guys get a first-hand look on how I do this. So let's do the same thing. So I'm just going to copy, paste. Okay, no, not that. Not that. Let's go back. No. Okay. Oh, whoa, look. Glacial indifference. It did it for me. But that's not what I'm going to use. Sorry. I don't know. Let's do the same one again. Same thing for color theory. I probably would not recommend using a lot of different fonts. I would stick to, again, at least 2 fonts. So we're not going to do this. We're going to actually stick with this maybe. Let's put this in a different thing. Boom. Boom. All right, this is an effect. Let's do lift. Or background. Let's do background. Whoa, yellow. I think the yellow is a little too bright. But that's why we can change it. Want to go a little bit darker? Let's do this. Let's do this one. And now another cool thing about Canva, let's not do that one. Let's do, oh no. Is that it kind of it does not keep this color. Wow. But that's okay. Because again, we have the eye drop tool. Thank you, Canva. That's not the color I want. So you have to be pretty precise with this. Precise with this tool. No. Hold on. You know what? Yeah, you get it. Let's do. Oh yeah. That looks decently better. Just like if you're doing a resume, many people say for a similar format for everything. Same thing goes for design. You shouldn't really have a lot of text that are very different. You should format it in a very, again, a symmetrical, orderly way. So don't make this like, I don't know, some really big number and then make this one very small. It's very uneven in a way. So that's why we want to keep these numbers different. I mean, no, not different. The font the same. So let's do 42. I don't know. No, not 42. That may be a little bit too big. Let's do, no, 32. Let's do 32. 32. 32. Okay, boom. Now, because of proximity, we can move this a little bit closer to this, a little far away from these three. Yeah. Let's do glacial difference. Glacial difference is 23.3. Let's do 23.3, 23.3, not 23.3. This is 32, this is 32, this is 32. And you also want symmetry for even the littlest of details. So again, that's why the line in Canva is very useful. You can see the dotted line. It kind of shows you that in terms of trying to align with the 100 plus, you are now in the middle. So let's do this. Now I want this one to show difference. And now here's something called grouping. On the side, it says grouping, which you can put two or more elements on the same like box. And now you can move both of it. Whoa. Same thing goes for here. Let's try this again. I'm putting two different elements that I can move. Put it close together. Click, hold, and highlight. Group. Is there any way to connect with me? Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to actually put my work email here. Gmail.com. That is my work email. I also have an Instagram, which is this. So if you want to connect with me, I also have LinkedIn. Just search up Joanne Zhu. It should say like Global Youth Economics Forum on like somewhere in my profile. So let's group these together. And if you still need to leave, that's fine. I can always help through emails. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I think we're set. I think this is a little bit too close. Don't you think? This little thing is like annoying me. Is the grouping effect just like dragging or holding it? Basically. Basically. So let's ungroup this. Now it's two different elements. Now let's put this in here, right under, a little bit of a space, so it looks a little better. Oh, look, boom, improved. Now, you can actually group all of these together. Drag, hold, or hold, drag, and now group this. Boom, now it's all its thing. But if you want to just change something individually, you can click on one element, like this 900, or you can click on this and change the font from there. Boom, it only changes that, which is pretty cool. So 23.3, let's get back to that. Now solid line because we want symmetry. Boom. You know what? It could be bigger. Actually, I think the white space is too big. So when you're doing white space, you have to also be aware of how much space you're using. You probably don't want to put too much space, but neither do you want to put like really less space. So let's ungroup this. Now everything, you have to regroup it together. Let's do that. Now you can put a little bit close together. Let's do this. Ooh. See that purple line? You can do this. Yeah. I'm going to do this. Yeah, don't worry. Thank you for coming. So now let's group these. And I want to make it bigger. Boom. Wow. Okay, maybe I don't really like how this, but it's fine. Let's keep like that. All right, boom. I think it looks a little bit better than before. Let's make use of elements, actually. I like to use blobs. I always use blobs in creating designs because I like the background to have a little something. So you can have this. If it's placed in the front, there's something called position. You can put it backwards, which is layering, play around with the layering. And now I want this color to be a little something a little bit darker. Oh, that's a little too dark, but wait, we have something called transparency. Oh, whoa. And now the great thing is that when you duplicate it, they're two different colors because of transparency. And now I want to put this in the back. Now you have two of the same transparency, same colors, but in this little middle is kind of a different color because you overlap two transparent elements. So I think this looks better. Woo. But there's something called styles right here. There's color palettes. There's not a lot of color palettes, but that's, if you want to start out using Canva and exploring, I definitely recommend using the color palettes that they have available. So there's this. Boom, it kind of changes it. And the more you click on it, the more they're going to switch based on that color palette. Purple or red? Does this look good? Or this? Or this? Or maybe this color? Let's do this. That's very bright. And now there's also font sets. They don't really have much to offer either, but it's a great way to kind of figure out how you want your own brand to have like their own like title, subtitle, subtext. So maybe like this. Or this. That looks really fancy. Or it's generating. Or this. But I think this looks really messy with this, with the effect. Or this. You know what? I like this one. This one looks better. Pop-ins. Nice. Anyways, elements. There's also other elements. You can use frame, add some random picture. I don't know. Picture. But I don't want to put picture as of now. There's also more elements you can use. And they're for free. Moral of the story, you don't need premium to make a plain page turn into something of your own for personal use or for brand use. There's also more. I love how this transferred from a plain page with text to such a beautiful design. Thank you so much. I think this is not my best work. That's all I'm gonna say. But thank you. There's also this. I kind of like the, oh no. Maybe this. Whoa. You can actually also use something called flip. You can flip it horizontally, and now it went from this thing to this. And now you can put it as the side. And with the lines, you can actually now put it symmetrical. And now there's something called a lock. I'm not sure if this or this is kind of aligned together like in a symmetrical way. So what I'm going to do, I can't highlight these. I don't want to highlight the blobs. I don't want to highlight this entire text. I want to only highlight this and this to group it together. And neither can you right click and kind of figure out how to do that. So what I'm going to do is use something called lock. Go to the three dots. There's something called lock. Lock it right here. And now you can click on it, but you can't move. You can't really do anything to it. It's like literally stuck there. But if you don't want to do that, boom, unlock it. Now you can move. But because I want to group these two like little blobby things, I'm going to lock it. Same thing goes for this blob because I don't want to highlight that part. So now I'm going to, boom, now I have these two. Whoa, that's so cool. And I want to group this. So let's align this to the middle. Whoa, it's symmetrical now. So now you can unlock it if you want to keep moving it. So I'm going to unlock it because I want to move this a little bit. Let's move it here. I don't know. And if I want to click or group anything else, I'm just going to lock it and then unlock it when I'm ready. This is too close, but that's okay. Now, is there more functions? There's going to be, copy style. Let's copy this style and now apply it to here. Oh, whoa! So you can literally use style. Click on, let's say this text. Now it's going to copy the fonts, the colors, whatever is in that text box and apply it to next work. The next thing you click on. No, okay. That's something to explore on your own because it's not working for me. And now there's something called embedding a link. Same thing, it's like Google Docs where you're trying to kind of embed like a website link to some sort of text. So I guess you can think of it like that. But I usually don't embed links. Now there's something called uppercase, which is just this. I think we should try out this. Now there's also underline, which is this. Whoa. But I think underlining will just make it look really like cluttered. Because again, white space, important guys. There's also called listing, which is just putting in bullet points. If you're working with bullet points, my advice here is, let's say, recipe for, I don't know, ingredients for cake. Ingredients for, oh no, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Ingredients for cake. Ingredients for cake. This is, the black is a little too dark. It kind of like matches or aligns with the background color. So I'm going to make this lighter. Working with color, you try to make it contrasting because you want people to see ingredients for cake first. Now, I don't know, I forgot what the ingredients for cake for is. Sorry, but I gotta go now. Of course, you guys are, feel free to leave. This is over an hour. Thank you for coming. Now, I'm going to use listing because, yes, flour. You need eggs, milk. I'm going to play with this. So now it kind of spreads out everything. And now I can make it this close. I'm gonna do this. But a lot of people say don't align it to the middle, as you can see here. Most people say align to the side. Why? Because it's more closer and now people can kind of see it. Let's put a picture of flour. Oh, wow, this is for free. Thank you, Canva. Boom. So that's a cool thing about Canva. So I think that's really the basics of Canva, and I hope that this helps. So I think I'm going to end off here. So let's present again. Yes. Anyways, thank you for coming. I hope that this webinar really helped you. This is also my first event that I kind of have been a guest speaker of. So I really apologize for a lot of like stuttering or a lot of pauses because I'm not a good speaker. Ironically, I do debates, so that's really funny. But I hope that these tips really helped you. Like it did help me as I was part of GYEF's like design team for the past 2 years. And I wish you good luck on your journey if you are hoping to pursue design. So thank you for coming. Feel free to leave. If you want, you can email me for any other questions through this email, joannezoo@gmail.com. And the Instagram is, I'm just going to put it right here. I'm also very active on Instagram, so you can message me through there. So I also have a LinkedIn. I think Lena, you can always like post it. I will also probably send Lena these like slides. So if you want to see it, go right ahead. And I think this is the end.